Hello, Internet user. My name is Gary of Gary's Wares. I make wooden pipes out of exotic hardwoods, and today I need a new pipe. That's my old pipe, and it's served me pretty well. It's done good, but one of the big problems with it is the bowl on the inside. It's kind of turned more into a funnel than a bowl. And the reason for that is because I didn't make the bowl wide enough. One of the purposes of the thickness of the bowl is to absorb the heat, and specifically to take the pressure off this little bit in there, right where the air passage starts. That area in there takes a whole lot of heat. And when this was new, it looked pretty much like this. And now look at it. The pipe that I'm going to make is going to be a super big version of this. This is a mini carb pipe. If you'd like to know how to make one of these, or if you'd like to know more about pipes, check out my video, The Basics of Pipe Making, on my channel. So the plan is to take this piece and turn it into the bowl, like that, and take this piece of zebrawood and turn it into the chamber / stem. So I'm going to drill a big hole here, and I'm going to drill a special hole here, the regular holes here, and then let's see what I'm left with. The holes have been drilled, and I actually made a mistake on the bowl. I drilled the air passage a little too high. I'm skipping over some of the finer points of making pipes because it's stuff that I've already covered in other videos. But let me just go over this real quick. There's a right and a wrong way to drill the air passage on the bowl. This is the right way, and the goal is to get the center of the bit to come right to the center of the bottom of the bowl. That's exactly where you want it. What you don't want is for it to come in too high, because then material gets caught at the bottom and doesn't get smoked. This is a no-go. The first hole I drilled this way, but the second one I drilled just under it, and it came out and actually might improve airflow. I'm not sure. I'll have to see the final product. So next, I'm going to take the stem / chamber and shape it. The stem has been shaped, so now we're going to glue this piece to that piece. It's worth taking some trouble to make sure that these surfaces are as flat as they possibly can be, because once they're glued together, any sort of cracks are going to show and it's not going to be attractive. So off to gluing. One other thing, I marked where the bottom of the chamber is. That way later, when I shape the mouthpiece, I'll know where it is and I don't cut into it, because that would be a bummer. It works! So now I'm going to shape it. I'm going to cut this part off with the scroll saw, and then I'm going to take it to oscillating spindle sander. And first thing we're going to do is shape the mouthpiece. The final product is going to be that size, but to get to it, I've got to get through a lot of this stuff. And so I'm going to shape everything and then come back. Now I'm going to use my rotary tool and these lines to shape the top of the bowl, and it'll look a little bit like this. Now all I have to do is sand it and finish it. And it's finished. And this came out pretty well. I took a roundover bit to the carb hole and the air passage to make them look a bit better, and it does some other functional things. And I also put little felt pads on the bottom. It looks nice, but the real question is, will it work as a pipe? Yeah, that'll work. One of the things that people ask me is about breaking in a bowl, and do you get like a woody kind of taste? And you would if you didn't do it right. If you're familiar with seasoning cast iron skillets, what you do is you take oil and you put them in the oven, and it gets in all the nooks and crannies and that sort of thing. And that's basically what you do with a new bowl. You smoke like 2 bowls and get resin in all the nooks and crannies in the bowl, and that breaks it in, and it's good, and you don't get any sort of woody taste or anything like that. So I smoked a farewell bowl with my old pipe, and now I'm going to retire it. It was a good pipe, but it had its flaws. One of the things to consider when you're making a pipe is the edge of the bowl, and you might be tempted to do what I did with this bowl and to take it and sort of round over the inside. That's not a good idea because resin and crap is going to build up on it, and if you round over the edge, the tendency is to just let the whole top of it get dirty and nasty because there's no like delineating line. So I learned from my mistake with this one. Something that my experience has taught me is that pipes that are used on a more or less daily basis have to be waterproof to an extent. This pipe was designed internally like this, and so all the resin and stuff gets down here to the bottom, and I didn't surface this one right, but the design's putting a lot of pressure on that seal right there. I took that into consideration with this one. That way all the resin and stuff kind of pools here at the bottom. The other thing I thought about was the carve hole, because I didn't want to drill it too low, because if you drill it too low, then, you know, it might start oozing out, and that would be no fun. So this is a pretty good pipe, but I give it a B. So let's take a moment to appreciate it before I sully it with my criticisms. Ooh. Ah. Now the first thing I didn't do right was the back side. There's a little, you have to catch it in just the right light, but right here, it's not shaped quite properly. It could have been done a little, there's a little ledge and around the top, and this is going to be harder to see, but there are little scratches from sanding, little tiny irritating scratches. And the thing is about the top of the bowl is that if it gets dirty, the dirt's going to go into those little scratches. They're going to be more pronounced, and it's going to be less attractive. And so I could have done that a little better. But mainly it was the edge where everything was glued. Remember how I was talking about the big nasty glue line and how it makes everything less attractive? Well, the closer you get, this is the one place where it really went off like I wanted it to, where it looks kind of like the wood kind of had an identity crisis and just decided to be a different wood at this point. But it's very clear through here, and especially on the bottom, that it was glued together. The glue line is not attributable to lack of diligence on my part. The reason it happened is something that's really irritating. So here we have a line that appears to be straight. From point A to D, it looks like it's a straight line, but in actuality, it's not. And actually, from points A to B and B to C and C to D, the line is pretty much straight. It's off by just a little bit because of a negligible margin of error. So if you connect points A to D, a straight line is obvious what's happening. But the other line segments, it's less obvious because there's a negligible margin of error where you kind of go, well, yeah, that's straight. If you just kind of eyeball it, you can't trust your eyeball all the time. A phenomenon like this is kind of what happens when you deal with pieces that are larger than about an inch on my sander. These are 1x1 pieces, and they're ready for final surfacing. When you have them like this, you go, yeah, it looks like it's fine. It looks like it's ready to be glued, but you have to be really anal about it if you want it to come out right. The other thing that's going on is when you sand a piece, and you get to the edge, the tendency is to kind of put a little extra on the edge, and you tend to wear that away. And you could have 2 pieces, and even though the edges line up and they're perfectly flush, that little bit of edge is gone, and it's filled in with glue, and it's ugly. One thing I'm going to do differently when I make these pipes in the future is I'm going to make the mouthpiece line up with the air passage in the bowl. One thing you have to consider when you're making a pipe design is how easy it is to clean the pipe, and you want to be able to take say a paper clip or a pipe cleaner and put it all the way through, because it's not like with glass pipes where you can see what's going on in here. And so it would be better if this hole lined up with this hole as closely as possible. The other thing I'm going to do when I do this next time is when I get to the point where I'm drilling the air passage on the bowl, I'm going to use a roundover bit. That way when you stick, say, you know, some kind of something in there to clean it, you can get to the hole pretty easily, whereas with this one you have to be pretty much dead on. But yeah, overall, I give myself a B on this one. In the future, they'll be done better, that's for sure. So if you like my stuff, subscribe, do all the stuff. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, yada yada. My name's Gary, and I'm out.